Greetings, imagination connoisseurs, and welcome to this. This is just going to be a quick one. I just wanted to pop on and, first of all, wish everyone a happy Easter for those so inclined to celebrate it. Happy Easter. Those of you, happy Passover, celebrating happy Passover. Whatever else you guys want to celebrate. How about just being alive? How about the fact that the second episode of the 8th season of Game of Thrones is on in mere hours? Endgame opens this week. So much to be excited about for us, these imagination connoisseurs of this, the Post-Geek Singularity. But I wanted to come on quickly today because I did something yesterday that I have conflicted emotions about, and that is I banned somebody. I banned somebody off the channel for being rude to me personally and being rude to others in the comments section on YouTube of these chats. Now, I don't like banning people. I don't take pleasure in banning people. But everyone's always like, it's the internet. What can you do? Well, you know what? I was thinking about that, and I decided that I wanted to come out and say, well, there is something we can do. And what we're trying to do, and what everyone here has helped me do, is realize we are building a community. And we have to decide together what kind of a community do we want to have here? What kind of a community do I want to build? Do I want to be at the mercy of people that just say, what do you expect? It's the internet. There's always going to be trolls and people that make it unpleasant. Well, that's true, I suppose, but we don't have to put up with it. Just like we really don't have to put up with climate change, and we don't have to put up with any number of things that we think we do. But for my little corner of the universe, my little corner of the interwebs, this place, these chats, the Post-Geek Singularity community, I can do what I can to put my foot down and not deal with that. So I'm not going to. And I certainly don't have to be, I don't have to put up with people treating me rudely on my own channel. So I banned someone. Now, we'll see how that shakes out. Maybe we will suddenly come under attack for all kinds of people that want to use this as a magnet to see what they can get away with. But I trust that everybody here will help me defend against that eventuality, and I'm sure it will come. But as I'm wont to do, I have to read a few emails before I just explain what I thought was important for this channel, which is to have a bit of a manifesto, a bit of a mission statement, as it were. But first, I'd like to read a few things, as you might guess. And this one comes from a longtime member of this. I say long time, but I've only been around for the last, 4 months. So one of the members, one of the vocal members, one of the more participants, one of the greater participants here at the Post-Geek Singularity community, and that is Crixus Maximus. Crixus Maximus sent me a direct email, and I figured I would read it because it seemed quite pertinent to today. Crixus says, first of all, congrats on number 100 of Robservations, whether that happens Easter Sunday or another day. I don't count this. This is an addendum. Missed you for 99, but we kept things going for good fun for about 2 hours. I imagine you might be surprised to hear from me, but I couldn't let Willow Yang and all the others show me up now, could I? When I decided to write, I was unsure what to write about. I could talk ad infinitum about all manner of things, such as the state of the Trek nation, or the Star Wars nation, or DC or Marvel. But no, what matters is the state of our nation here. Yes. There's a word from Mandarin, Zhating. Willow Yang could tell you what it means, but I will. Zhating means, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. He gave me a pronunciation, Zha like Zsa Zsa Gabor, and Ting. So I say Zhating. I don't know what the emphasis is. Zhating, I don't speak Mandarin. So Zhating, that's how it is. It exists in my mind. Zhating means family. We have here a family, not by blood, but by choice. And that's a good thing. We have here a family that may never all be in the same room together, but across thousands of miles, we share the same headspace and much of the same soul space. And that's a good thing. We have here a family that for a few minutes or hours, we can just join together and celebrate enjoying each other, even if that celebration consists of a rant, and that's a good thing. We have here a family. We have Jating, and this is a good thing. Thanks for starting this good thing, RMB. Keep the notorious after all. If you think about it, Biggie stole Biggie Smalls first. Peace and blessings. Warmly, Crixus. P.S. Read this if you wish. You're free to choose. But if you ever put it in any script or something, I want points. I'm not greedy. Just let me wet my beak a little, Paisan. Anybody who comes up with a Godfather reference is a friend of mine. So, Crixus, thank you so much. Thanks for being here and thanks for participating. You sent this email right when I was thinking about this very thing. So, thank you. This next one comes from the great man, Terry Flynn. Now, before you think he's monopolizing all my time, he's really not. But I felt that on this day, on Easter, it was really important that I read this short missive from Terry in the UK. Dear Rob, I've been doing what all right-thinking individuals are doing on Easter Sunday. No, nothing to do with eggs. I've rewatched Monty Python's Life of Brian. It's the 40th anniversary. It shows to these commentators who think my last letter pleaded for safe spaces that I like anything but. You know, it's right here. I was going to insert some kind of an anything but joke, but I will not, Terry. Best movie ever. Much as I'd love Endgame to break all box office records, this movie is the one I must go to the toilet during. Otherwise, I'd pee myself laughing. Happy Easter. Kind regards, Terry. Oh, that about says it all, doesn't it? So I want to thank Terry for writing that in. I thought that was great, and you know, it's important. It's important. Monty Python's Life of Brian and Monty Python's Meaning of Life are two favorites of mine. Of course, Holy Grail is also fantastic. So thank you for that. But now I want to get down to what I was saying, because one of the people. Well, there's a couple people in the comments section and I read the comments. I do. I mean, I don't respond to a lot of them because I don't. I learned long ago while working in the motion picture business that when you make a movie or you make something, actually, I probably learned this before the motion picture business, when you make something for public consumption, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be an article for a magazine. It could be a book. It could be a movie, a television show, whatever it is. When you put it out there for the public to view, you're going to get a wide range of responses to what that thing is. And there are going to be people, no matter what you make, that don't like what you've done. And the first impulse is always to want to jump in the fray and mix it up with those commentators, especially now when you have comment sections, whether you're on Amazon, whether you're on Goodreads, whether you're on the IMDb, or whether you're on comment sections of your own YouTube channel. There is a tremendous pull to want to go in and fight, to defend the work that you have created. And I've learned long ago, and occasionally I resist. I give in to temptation. I can't resist, and I jump in. But for the most part, I have learned that you have to allow your work to speak for itself. You have to put it out into the public. If you're making something for audience consumption, which is by definition what you're doing when you're making a movie or a television episode, it's going to be made for public consumption. And you have to just let the arrows and slings hit you where they're going to hit you. And you have to let the work, you have to have faith that the work that you've done will speak for itself. Because there's nothing else you can do. If you want to defend yourself against everybody who's going to come at you, therein lies madness. And I learned this when I made my first and only featured directorial effort, which was Free Enterprise, which is now 20 years old. But when we were on the festival circuit, I learned quickly that there were people that really loved the movie and there were people that thought it was hot garbage. And you had to deal with that. And you had to deal with it at film festivals, usually in a very public venue, because you were sitting on a stage in a room full of literally hundreds of people that you were facing that were going to tell you what they thought of you. And how you responded was very, very, very important. And that's what I learned. Um, in the age of the internet, uh, it's very difficult not to take things personally, and it's when people try to get you riled up. But yesterday, I felt I'll put up with it to a certain extent, up to a point. But when people are being rude to both me and being rude to other commentators, then it's time to drop the banhammer down, because you have to ask yourself, what are we doing here? What kind of a community are we trying to build? And a community needs to be policed. It does. And while on the internet you can expect to deal with your fair share of trolls, and by the way, don't get me wrong, I'm not against trolling per se. I'm not. But I love creative, cogent, clever trolling. If you want to troll me, come at me, bro, or come at me, sis, but do it in a clever way that I can respect. If you hate something I've done, please bring the noise. Tell me what you thought of me. I have no problem with it if it's done in a clever, creative, and indeed respectful manner. Maybe not to me so much, but at least respectful of the other members of the community that are also going to be reading your comments. And that made me start thinking after I banned this guy. And he was the same guy that once again came after me for using the moniker Notorious RMB. So I don't necessarily disagree. He's obviously an intelligent, thoughtful person. But once again, he goes in with the reason that or that others that I've talked with on other channels don't like Star Trek Discovery was because Sonequa Martin Green is a black woman. And nothing could be further from the truth. And then it just devolved from there. But anyway, it made me realize that I think that I should have stated, or should state, and I'm going to state this right now. What do I expect from this channel? And what do I expect from all of the people that choose to become a member of the Post-Geek Singularity? It's very simple. I have basically three little things. The first is, this must be a place for respectful, open discourse for all of the things that we as imagination connoisseurs want to discuss. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your gender is, how you identify yourself, what your sexuality is, what country you come from, the color of your skin. I don't care. As a matter of fact, I want all those things here. I want as much diversity that we can get. The whole world is welcome here, as long as we all agree to engage in open, thoughtful discourse. And the second thing that goes along with that is civility. That's what I want. I don't just want open discourse. I want civility. Everybody that has come here and everybody that chooses to visit these live chats deserves not only my respect, but the respect of the members of this community, as long as that is earned. And that's I want earned respect. All of you and the people that have been in here and the people that have been coming back here have certainly not only earned my respect, but more importantly, they've earned the respect of all of the others here who are part of this community. And the third thing, and it all sort of fits in together, is I want and I hope that everybody here also believes in the sovereignty of everyone as individuals. Now, this person also said, because I've said this before, and brought up the fact that I rail against the far left and how I watch people that I've even admitted on the intellectual dark web took me to task for all of these things. And I came back and I said, well, I read all kinds of different things. I don't just read things that I agree with. I read things that I don't agree with. And then I was asked, what the fuck does the sovereignty of the individual even mean? And basically, a lot of people can look it up, but I did look it up, and I was looking for different ways in which to express what do I think the sovereignty of the individual means. And I think that what that means is just what I say, that an individual has sovereign rights unto him or herself, period. And those rights should not be infringed upon by others. Simple as that. But I figured that was maybe not clear enough, so I looked into it. Did a cursory Google search, and I found something that I want to read that is very long. And I warn you, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's extremely long, but I think everybody should look it up and read it because it's very interesting. It comes from the Harvard Law Review from March 1992, volume number 105 of the Harvard Law Review, March 1992. It was number 5. And it's an article. And it's an article by Meyer Dan Cohen. And the article is called Responsibility and the Boundaries of the Self. Now, I'm only going to read the introduction. And it's a long introduction. So if you don't want to hear it, you don't have to. But I'm going to read it, or at least read enough of it. I'm just going to read this introduction. Legal responsibility is not imposed in a moral or a social void. Although the ascription of responsibility is more structured in law than it is in general outside of it, no sharp conceptual division exists. To understand legal responsibility, we must understand responsibility. The most important source of such underlying is morale. Excuse me. The most important source of such understanding is morality. Blaming, that is, ascribing moral responsibility for the negative effects of one's behavior, has come to be understood in terms of what I call the free will paradigm. In the free will paradigm, responsibility is grounded in the agent's capacity to choose her actions freely. This understanding of responsibility arises most prominently in criminal law, in which the clearest example is the traditional definition of first-degree murder based on premeditation and deliberation. The law deems that any emotional agitation, any heat of passion, clouds judgment and impairs self-control, and thus reduces responsibility. Important as moral responsibility is to legal responsibility, however, it cannot be the whole story. First, the legal structure of liability cannot be more sound than its philosophical foundations. And these foundations, insofar as they comprise the idea of free will, are notoriously shaky. Try as it may, the law cannot ignore the ubiquitous specter of determinism. Concessions to determinism are as inevitable as they are perilous. They are steps down a slope that, despite enormous philosophical effort, remains a slippery one. Second, just as moral responsibility is not the whole of responsibility outside the law, legal responsibility is not coextensive with blaming. For example, in tort law, holding someone responsible need not connote any moral failure. Ascriptions of strict, vicarious, and collective responsibility fall outside morality and involve no blaming. Yet the free will paradigm exerts its influence even here, albeit in a negative way. We tend to think of such forms of responsibility somewhat apologetically, as exceptions to the free will idea. As seen from the voluntarist perspective, the picture of responsibility is that of a core and a periphery. The conception of responsibility as based on freely chosen actions applies to the core, but it leaves the rather large periphery unexplained. Moreover, from this perspective, the relationship of core to periphery is unclear. What, after all, do the various cases of deviant responsibility have in common with the core cases characterized by the agent's free choice? I propose to answer this question in the article. I also respond to other difficulties with the dominant conception of responsibility. The response is not a solution to, but rather an evasion of, the problems endemic to the free will paradigm. My aim is to provide an alternative, unitary account in light of which we can make sense of much responsibility talk without encountering the problems presented by the voluntarist perspective. To introduce this response, however, I must first draw attention to a second prominent feature of the dominant conception of responsibility. Theoretical discussions of responsibility have traditionally taken on the subject of responsibility as given and have explored the conditions under which the relationship of responsibility occurs. I argue, however, that this traditional approach assumes an unduly simplistic conception of the relationship between responsibility and its subject. Implicit in this approach is a conception of the human subject, the self, as possessing some important, immutable attributes to which the law responds, of which free will is most prominent. The view of the self as a fixed entity, defined prior to and independent of social relationships, however, has come under increasing attack. Specifically, this conception of the self permits us to articulate an alternative to the free will paradigm of responsibility, which I call the paradigm of self-constitution, or the constitutive paradigm for short. Whereas the free will paradigm treats responsibility as a matter of what we choose to do, the constitutive paradigm treats responsibility as a matter of who and what we are. The latter view enables us to reinterpret disputes about the ascription of responsibility as reflecting the plasticity of self and as involving a negotiation over the self's relevant boundaries. The constitutive paradigm also provides a common denominator for various forms of responsibility we recognize. Volition is one element in our conception of the self, but it is not the only element. Thus, volition is one ground of responsibility, but not the only ground. Accordingly, volitional responsibility is a special case, albeit a particularly important one, of constitutive responsibility. Like volitional responsibility, other forms of responsibility help identify and forge different constituents of the self. And he goes on, and this gets really in depth. And I want to read that much because you really should go and read this article yourself. But basically, the whole idea that I believe in is that we individuals, we ourselves, deserve to lead our lives the way we want to lead our lives. We are responsible for our own lives and our own actions, as long as those things do not interfere with the ability of other people to do the same. That's what I believe in terms of the sovereignty of the individual. And that's why I'm not really down with while all politics occasionally is identity politics, I don't believe in groupthink. I don't believe in the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. I think the needs of the many and the needs of the few or the one must work together in tandem with one another. And that's what I at least hope would those of you who come to this channel and are going to be a part of this, the Post-Geek Singularity community, that's what I want. I want open civil discourse about all of these things that we love, and I want us all to respect one another as individuals. Pretty simple. I mean, that's what I think that the channel should be about. I think most of you who are here with me agree with that. And I also think that we shouldn't put up with those people that don't agree or won't believe in this very simple manifesto. We don't have to put up with it. We can shape the world. I often say the world, we can't expect the world to change to be the way we want it, but we can certainly shape this small corner of the internet, this small chat room, or whatever we want to call it, the Post-Geek Singularity, which is, I guess, a movement, but we can kind of make that movement the way we want it to be. Just like I can hopefully build these model kits one day and make them the way I want them to be. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. I noticed that a few people have sent me some super chats, which is very nice. I will answer those. Mark C says, as the toxic one, thank you for the platform and for the chat, and thank you for your ear. Well, Mark, that's what this is all about. And I have to say, while you have said that there's channels that you watch that, and sometimes certain channels I don't agree with at all, you have been nothing but respectful, and we have had nothing but good open discourse, and you're exactly the kind of person that I would hope would stay here. And we need you, man. We need alternative points of view. We need people that will stay on this channel and continue this conversation and be civil and bring all of those diverse points of view, because that's the only way we're going to learn, man. That's the only way we're going to learn and grow. and hopefully move into the future, because the future is where we will spend the rest of our lives, said Criswell. Square Wheel says, Rob, trolls are just that. They hide in the dark and turn into stone when exposed to the light. But remember, I am not opposed to good trolling, because I think good trolls can also be, well, first they can be very clever. Well, I love great meme lords, as long as it's clever trolling. I mean, what is trolling but offering alternative points of view? Most of the time it can be rude and it can be very off-putting, but good trolls also have something to say while they're trolling you. That's why they're doing it, at least for the most part. Otherwise, it's not that clever of trolling. But again, I'm not opposed to trolls as long as they're good at what they do and they respect my community standards. I don't think you have to be disrespectful necessarily while you're trolling, because a good troll will make you start thinking about what is it you really believe and how best to defend yourself. At least that's what I've always thought. Odai Alamani, I think it's Alamani. I'm with you all the way, Captain Rob. You make everyone feel at home. Thank you for spreading positivity and acceptance every day. All the love and support. Well, you know what? I mean, it's not just me. It's you guys too. I mean, the part of the reason, like I think that I'm just a fulcrum. You guys are, I'm just here to get everything moving. But it's you guys that make the community what it is. I'm just one person. So hopefully, as I move into triple digits as far as these chats are concerned, that there's new subscribers every day. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Please interact. There is going to be the gallery on the Burnettwork.net is open. Some of you have sent me material to the gallery to put up pictures of your collections, whether they be action figures, your DVD or Blu-ray collections, and I'm going to start making this imagination connoisseur gallery. And I want to, I'll be putting up letters there, and I'll be putting up anything you choose to share with me. People have sent me artwork they've done. And what I'd like also, if you're going to send me something, there's inevitably going to be people that want to talk to you about those things. So I want to make sure that when you send me something to put up in the gallery, that it's okay to include your email if somebody wants to get in touch with you. But again, if you don't want your email, if you don't want to be contacted, that's okay as well. So if you do want to share your stuff, but you don't want to leave any kind of contact information, you can just leave your chat handle or whatever it is, and I'll just tell me how you want me to, or how you want me and Mike to put it up on the site. But yeah, I mean, again, we're supposed to be building a community here, so whatever you guys want to do and how you want to say it, it's up to you. Magic K says, epic troll, Joker, good troll, Riddler, bad troll, mediocre, nameless criminals. I like that. That's pretty good. Willow Yang says, so this isn't the 100th episode, is it? No, this is not the 100th episode. Also, I have work to do. I don't have much time. I just wanted to come in here and state this manifesto for today. I'm working on some technical things to do with the 100th episode, which hopefully is going to be tomorrow. I think it will be tomorrow for sure. Square Wheel says, man, you and Campia need to stagger your chats. Yeah, but John's always on the internet. I can never figure out where and when John's going to be on, because he's on all the time. But that's cool. Yeah, so I've got work to do on both Tango Shalom. I'm compiling all of the notes for all 6 reels that have come in from different sources, and I'm going to get those to our colorist tomorrow morning so he can begin revising the color. And I'm going to be working on the new software that I'm going to use to upgrade these chats and new hardware. So that's great. I just wanted to come on and say this about our community. So it's just a simple manifesto. I wanted to state it. And I did feel bad about banning somebody. But you know what? It gets to the point where, you want to beat this drum over and over and over again. That's fine. You want to take me to task for something that I've said. That's fine too. But again, I want it to be done in a respectful manner that shows a certain level of civility and respect me as a creator, and I guess a YouTuber, and a person that's I'm being here I'm putting myself out there. So, I expect that you would come at me back the same way I'm trying to come at you. So anyway, I'm going to end this chat. I want to thank you, everyone, for this continuing support. Please subscribe to the channel. Remember, Robservations and the Burnettwork are brought to you by Lucky Tiger men's grooming products. When you want to look good and feel great, I'm looking forward to perhaps having Alan Murphy on this show, the CEO of Lucky Tiger, to talk Lucky Tiger and sponsorship and what he, as a, what I'm really interested in is, what does he expect from me? If he's sponsoring this channel, what does he hope to accomplish by doing that? I think that's really going to be interesting. We are going into triple digits. The 100th episode of Robservations is coming tomorrow, and we'll see what the future holds. I just know that we've got more people than ever who are part of the community that have subscribed and who are part of these chats. I didn't, expect to even stay on this long, but it's because of you guys and your support that we keep doing this. I wanted to wish everybody a happy Easter. You should all, I'm going to send the link. Actually, I'll put the link to the Harvard Law Review. You can see it's a pretty heady article. And even I didn't get all the words right, but it's really worth reading. It's a really long article, and you should all check it out because, it really does talk about the individual, the sovereignty of the individual, and what does that mean? And it's not just in terms of political content or whether you own something or not. It's very interesting, and I really believe in that. I really do believe that each individual, and that's one of the great, I think, ultimately cornerstones of Western civilization. It believes in the sovereignty of the individual, and so that's what I want to say. So thank you all for being here. I will be back. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Game of Thrones, man. What is it? It's 1:30. That means if you watch the East Coast HBO feed, it starts at 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Woohoo! So I'm very excited for that, guys. And I will be back later if you want to keep this conversation going. I've got to go back to work. But thanks for being here. And I do appreciate all the support. And as always, everyone, have a better day.